Hi, good afternoon. This is Dr. Bright with your weekly episode on 7 things I want you to know about your health. This week, we will be looking at the environment. As we are probably all aware, the World Environment Day comes up in 2 days' time. That is on the 5th of June 2023. And the topic for this year is titled Stop Plastics Pollution. First of all, what is health? We might have heard this definition is worth repeating that health is a state of physical, mental, and social well being, and not just the absence of disease or infirmity. That implies that health is the sum total of your internal states and not just merely the absence of any physical injury or abnormality. Secondly, what is your environment? The environment is the sum total of all the material and immaterial things that have an influence on you, the individual. So, in your environment, there can be the air, the atmosphere, the soil, the lithosphere, the water, the hydrosphere, and the biological plants and animals, including humans around you, the biosphere. Now, the next question is, what is the World Environment Day about? Well, it simply is a day set aside to raise influence on the environment and to effect changes that would positively affect the environment. This year's theme focuses on the topic Stop Plastics Pollution. Now, why is this important? It's important because out of the about 200 to 400 tons of plastics produced by year, less than 10% is recycled. As a matter of fact, less than half of it is actually planned for recycling. What happens to the rest? It's disposed of in our bodies of water, the seas, the lakes, the oceans, where they gather and affect aquatic life. Some of them end up as microplastics, which are plastic particles less than 1 cm, to be precise, less than 0.5 cm. These particles end up in the gut of fishes and other aquatic life forms. Now, when we catch this to eat, it ends up in our own guts and cause a lot of inflammatory gut conditions. Some of the plastics which are discarded on land, they end up in the stomachs of our farm animals. This, of course, also leads to decreased lifespan, I beg your pardon, of our livestock, as well as um, decreased productivity, which also ends up in our own stomachs when we eat them. So overall, plastics in the environment affects us, not just us, it also affects the ecology by affecting the normal growth of plants and animals. Now that you know this, what is your role in this? First of all, the fact that you know it's a role in itself, because it's only what you know that you can do something about. So now that you know about the plastics and the effects it has on the environment, you can first take a step by choosing to change your environment. And the way you do that is by appreciating your environment and noticing the things that you can change about it. And the first thing you can change is people's knowledge and perceptions around you. So you can make a decision to go out and inform as many people in your circle of influence about these dangers. Fortunately, with the advent of social media, it's easy to put out these messages. And so it's very easy to write out a hashtag, stop plastic pollution, and list out the points and put it on your WhatsApp status, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, and let the word spread out. Secondly, you can choose to minimize your use of plastics, especially the non recyclable plastics. So instead of using cellophane bags and plastic bags, you can opt for paper bags. You can also choose to use recyclable bottles where possible and dispose this in special recycling containers for use. Other materials which can be used locally can be donated to such persons. For example, in my country of origin, there are those who earn a living by going around to collect plastic bottles and washing them and reselling them for use by those who vend local drinks and similar products. By simply doing so, you've contributed to the reduction of plastic pollution in your environment. Another way is to come together with your local populace to create cleanup campaigns whereby you go around and clean up the plastics in the gutters and the sewages. These have less chance then of getting into the water bodies and polluting the water bodies. In addition, one you can also raise up these concerns with your local authorities so they can formulate policies to reduce plastic use, exposure in environment, as well as encourage recycling. You may be asking, how does the environment affect your health? Well, like we've mentioned, the environment is important because it's one of the principal determinants of disease in man. To use the simple example of mosquitoes, neglecting your environment by allowing stagnant water to accumulate causes breeding grounds for mosquitoes to abound. These then nurture the mosquitoes, which then come to bite you and lead to malaria. Malaria kills a lot of people here in Africa. It also causes a lot of people to spend scarce resources, which have been spent for other things, on treating ill health. You can now, final question is, how can you optimize your environment for the best of your health? I just give an example. In your own health environment, find out what you can do to make these changes.